Welcome to Dr. Saddam Kenya. So if you are checking this video, probably there is something to do with yeast that is happening to you, or you're just a curious person. So in this video, I'm going to explain what is usually happening with yeast infections, specifically to do with men. So let's meet after the short break. Most people usually know about yeast infections when it comes to women, and very few persons usually realize that yeast infections can happen with men. Yeast infections are usually caused by a fungus known as Candida albicans, and this fungus is usually classified as normal flora. It can easily be found under your skin, it can easily be found in your mouth, in your GIT, etc. However, there are some times in which the populations of this fungus tends to increase drastically, and this is what usually causes the yeast infections, because the fungus are overpopulating and they are feeding on the tissues and causing the inflammations and everything, the itching, etc. So here are the few symptoms you need to check out if you're a man that could indicate you're having a yeast infections. Now, the first common symptom is having a discharge, and a discharge alone might not really indicate that you're having a yeast infection, but this discharge usually is either white or yellow, and it might not really, actually doesn't really have any bad smell. Yeah, it doesn't have a terrible smell, a bad smell. What it has is probably maybe a yeasty type of smell, a breadish cheese type of smell, yeah, which isn't really bad. The second symptom that is quite common is having some severe itching on the tip of your penis or on the head of your penis, and this is quite common with all yeast infections, be it in females, in males, in the head, in the chest, etc. So you will have a very severe itching, and once you start itching or scrubbing the itchy part, they will form a bump or some sort of a swelling on that specific place that would later on disappear. You might also have some swellings along the whole shaft of your penis, which is also quite common. In addition to that, you might have some white patches on your male reproductive part, which is also common. And yeast infections in men are usually accompanied with a lot of populations of this yeast in your groin part of your body. So you also need to check that you'll be having some very severe itching and swelling, etc. So these are the main three things you ought to check out when it comes to yeast infection. Now, you might also have some other symptoms which include things like a slight fever at some point. You just feel completely uncomfortable, and sometimes even the whole part of your reproductive part might have some sort of a swelling. That is usually known as inflammation. Now, how can you go about yeast infection if you're a man? Now, there are very many ways in which you have to deal with it, but the most important thing that usually brings about this is something to do with sanitation. Now, if you're a man, it is very important you ensure that after showering, after maybe if you're a Muslim, after cleaning yourself, you have to ensure your private parts are very clean and dry, because yeast infections usually need some sort of humidity to thrive very well. So you need to ensure these places are very dry. You have to ensure this place is cleaned, yeah, thoroughly cleaned and dry. Now, in addition to that, if you're a person who is used to using lubricants, I'd advise you stop, because lubricants in most cases would bring about this condition. Now, the most important one that in most cases would bring about these yeast infections is use of antibiotics. Now, frequent use of antibiotics can easily damage the balance, the flora balance, the different bacteria that are found in your skin, etc. So if this balance is disrupted, you could easily develop a yeast infection in your private parts, in your mouth, etc. And that can be fatal in some cases. So you ought to check out with what you're using. If you're using a certain antibiotic and you've started experiencing this condition, I'd advise go back to your GP, explain your situation, and probably you should have a replacement for the specific antibiotic that you're using. I think I've just gone through everything to do with the yeast infection. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section of this video. I'll go through them, give you a specific answer to it. And guys, if you're new to this channel, kindly consider hitting the subscription bell button, enable the notification bell, and let's meet in the next video.